Welcome to the Dynasty Pros YouTube channel, and boy do we have a show for you. We're going to be going over some trades, and I got my man Dustin with me, so Dustin, tell everybody hi.
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome in. Before we start the show, I want to just bring up the Foster Moreau news. So those who don't know, Foster Moreau tweeted today that he was diagnosed with cancer. So we're all wishing Foster Moreau the healthy recovery and hoping he can get back to football someday. But just health and wellness, be praying for his family and him and his family as they go through this. So sad news that broke today. So but we're thinking of you, Foster. We know you're watching Foster Moreau, so we're thinking of you.
Yep. He was one of my favorite underdog tight ends the past couple of years, especially playing behind Darren Waller. I was hoping he would go somewhere to shine, but looks like that's going on hold for a little while.
Well, we've seen people come back. James Conner's come back. Sounds like John Mechie's going to come back for the Texans, so hope he can make a recovery and come back in 2024 and be our sleeper tight end again.
Bring it on. Speaking of sleeper, let's dive into these trades. First one we got came in from a guy named Ty on Twitter. We have the 103, the 101, and the 203 being given up for Saquon Barkley and Lamar Jackson. Now, we don't know the league specifics on this, whether it's Superflex, single QB, so we're going to run with it and evaluate it from both ends. So I'll let you take first grabs. What do you want to do for 1 QB or Superflex?
Yeah, I'll take it as a 1 QB league. If this is a 1 QB league, I think I want the picks. If you're talking 1 QB, that 101's Bijan, right? That 103 is probably another running back, so you might be able to get Jahmyr Gibbs or wide receiver. I assume the 102 is going to be JSN. So you're giving up Barkley. You can replace him. You're replacing Barkley with Bijan and probably the 103. 203, you can get a wide receiver, and you're giving up Lamar, but in 1 QB, you can replace Lamar, and we don't even know if Lamar is going to play right now, so you get that, you're taking on that risk, so I'd rather have the picks. I don't want the risk of Lamar coming onto my team in a 1 QB league.
I definitely see that. So, one question I have, could you use the 203 for a QB, like CJ Stroud or Bryce Young, or would that be too early, in your opinion?
I think you could, in a 1 QB league. You could definitely get one of those guys. I mean, I think Stroud probably might be gone by then, depending on team needs. But you could probably get Young or Anthony Richardson if you're looking for hype. If you're in a 1 QB league, you probably have 2 or 3 guys, probably 4 guys on your roster. So you probably have a decent player that you can afford to wait on a Richardson at 203 if, let's say Young and Stroud are gone and let him sit on your bench. He's not going to start for you this year, but you build for the future. So, yeah, you could definitely get a quarterback at 203 there in a 1 QB league.
I just left my final 1 QB league. It just fell apart. Commissioner said he didn't want to do it anymore. So now I'm purely Superflex. So I'm going to bring in my Superflex opinion in this trade. Give me the players in this instance. Give me Barkley and Jackson. Personally, I know Bijan's going to be the 101, even in Superflex. But I'd rather have a competent QB like Jackson and a running back that still showed that he had the stuff and Saquon. That's my personal take.
Yeah, I agree. I think Superflex, so if you're saying Bijan's 101, in a Superflex, you're taking a quarterback at 103, right? You're going to get whoever's left between Stroud and Young. And then what do you do at 203 if you're in a Superflex league? Are you picking up a Will Levis? Or are you picking up a running back, wide receiver, best player available? What are you doing at that 203 pick if you're in a Superflex?
Superflex 203 probably would go running back there. You might, if you're lucky, you get Sean Tucker to drop down to you. If not him, I could see somebody like Jalen Hyatt being there at 203.
Oh, yeah.
Especially
I agree. I think.
Combine.
Yeah, I think if I'm in Superflex and I somehow got these picks, which I agree with you, I'd want the players. I'm trying to move that 203 this year for a second next year and just give me that flexibility for next year's draft, because I want to try to get up in the top 4 or 5 picks next year. So it's a good trade asset, but you have to trade it obviously sooner rather than later, because once the draft hits, it's not going to be worth as much. So
Right. I definitely think if you have the 203 this year, trade for the 2024. Personally, I'm looking more forward to that class. I think there's going to be better talent. And in the second round spot, this is a very top heavy class.
yeah, and with picks, the way they work, right now the value for 2023 picks is the highest, and 2024 picks is the lowest, right? Because we don't really know who's coming out. We have a year of production still to come. So the difference between a second this year and a second next year is vastly different right now. So you could trade the 203 for a late one, like a random one, because someone doesn't know. They think they're going to be in contention. It could be the 110, 112. It's just because the value sooner. And as we'll see the 2024 picks will just continue to grow value after the draft. So as soon as this draft happens, everybody's on the next year's draft. They're going to be wanting the 2024 picks. They're going to be, I want Kay Williams, I want Marvin Harrison Jr., I want whoever, and they're going to keep the hype just builds, the slow build. As the season goes on, the prices just start, and we've seen this year, prices of picks just have gone up and up and up. Where now, like the 101 is worth a ton right now. Even the 104 is worth a ton because people want a Richardson. They want those bigger running backs who are starting to jump up, the wide receivers, whatever it is. So picks later will eventually increase in value. So getting later picks now increases value later on.
I can definitely see that. So now we're going to move on to this next one that we got from the Fantasy Maestro on Twitter. He got Joe Burrow and gave up Kirk Cousins, Chris Godwin, and Antonio Gibson. I want to ride with this as being a super flex trade just based off of the pieces at play, but we'll still roll with it as one QB versus super flex. Super flex wise, I love Burrow. I think he's a great quarterback. I would rather have Cousins and Godwin in this instance. Just because, granted, Godwin's going to have a different QB this year. He won't be as prolific as he has been. But he can still put up decent numbers. And Kirk Cousins has been that steady QB 10 to 12 range in his career. I just feel like that's a little too much to give for Burrow, in my opinion.
See, I'm looking at it in a single QB. I'll take the Burrow side. I like Kirk Cousins. I don't think Kirk Cousins is great. I think it's a big upgrade, especially when you're talking Dynasty, the length of years you're going to get from Burrow. So let's say you go from QB 4 in Burrow, and Kirk Cousins is QB 10, maybe 8, maybe on the high side 6. I don't think he gets in the top 5. This year, you increase your value, but longevity increase your value. Yes, you're giving up Godwin. I think Antonio Gibson's the throw-in piece here. I think someone it's the hey, why don't you also throw in this guy piece? So I don't think he matters that much. You have to give up Godwin, but I think if your roster's so right, I'd rather take the Burrow side in a super flex and in a 1 QB. I just think the length of years you're going to get out of Burrow, I think Kirk Cousins has this year, maybe next year, and then he's done, where you're going to get 7 to 10 more years out of Joe Burrow.
I didn't take longevity into account with that, so I definitely see your side in this. So yeah, I will give this one to Maestro. I do think Burrow won in this, like him getting Burrow won in this instance, especially if he's in a win now situation, which he could very well be with the pieces he gave up.
Yeah, I agree. So this next trade is mine. So I wanted to be a little selfish and bring my own trade. This is a proposed trade in one of my leagues. It hasn't gone through yet. So I am in a Superflex 12-team PPR. I have the 101. The offer that I sent out, this was a counter. I sent out it's basically the 111 and the 103 and Kadarius Toney for the 101. Now, in my mind, my running backs are Javonte Williams, Damian Pierce, who I'm less excited about it now than I was, Miles Sanders, who I'm super excited about, Tyler Algier, A.J. Dillon. My quarterbacks are Mac Jones, Desmond Ridder, Jordan Love. So, although I love Bijan, I'm trying to move back to try to get 2 or 3, trying to get, what I'd like to do with the 103 is get either Stroud or Young. At the 111, maybe get, Anthony Richardson or a Hendon Hooker. So what do you think about this trade value-wise in a Superflex league? Because I'm curious what your thoughts are.
So, Remind me the spots again for the
So it's 103 and it's the 103 and 111, and Kadarius Toney for 101.
I don't think the value's that off for the 103. I think the 103 and the 111 puts you at the 101 spot, in my opinion. And Toney, he showed some life last season towards the tail end, especially at the Super Bowl. I think you came out on top in this one, just because you're getting another piece, and you can still get a decent running back towards the tail end.
So let me ask you this quick, because this trade is just pending right now. He originally offered me the 103, the 201, and Rashad Bateman for the 101. Would you do that?
103, 201, and Bateman?
Yes.
Okay. Based off of where I have it, I think 201 and Bateman puts it closer to the 109 range, I would say. Bateman has some value, in my opinion. So, I don't mind that one as much. But if you're wanting the rookies, definitely go the 103 and the 111.
So I originally had offered 103, 111, and Bateman, and he turned it down. Then came back. This was a couple weeks ago, and he came back today with 103, 201, which is really only 3 picks after the 111, and then Bateman. I took Bateman out because I'm unsure of the Lamar Jackson thing and threw Toney in. So that's where I'm at. It's a trade. I think it's, for me, I think it's a little, I want to say light, because I am moving from 101 to 103, so I'm only dropping 2 picks. I'm probably taking myself out of Bijan and Stroud, who are my top 2 players, so I'm probably getting Bryce Young. But there's a potential in a super flex that I could still get Stroud if it goes Bijan Young, or Young, someone could take a quarterback first. I wanted that late first to get a Hendon Hooker. I have probably 3 or 4 second round picks anyway, so I have some flexibility there. I just thought moving up from the 201 to the 111 made sense for me. I preferred Toney over Bateman just from playing with Patrick Mahomes, a couple years younger, better offense. We don't know what's happened with Lamar. So that's the trade offer I have out there right now. So for all you 101 people out there, that's a trade I've offered out. And so I was offered Bateman, 103, and 201 for the 101. So I think we hear these talks of 101 being worth everything. And I think and this is a industry league with some smart people, we're just not seeing that. I haven't seen where it's like you can get the moon and back for Bijan. Sure, in your home league, maybe you can, but I think most Dynasty league, that's just not realistic.
I sent an offer out to one of my more competitive leagues, offering the 101 for 103 and Miles Sanders, and I got rejected with a "what the heck is that" message.
So tell him to read up on Miles Sanders. I think Miles Sanders is going to have a great year.
I hope he does. I think Carolina's a great fit for him. Deuce Staley as an offensive coordinator, or as a running backs coach, is going to do awesome.
Yes.
So, for this next trade, it's coming from our one and only SC Romero over at Dynasty Pros. We have Amari Cooper, Travis Etienne, 316 and 308 for Stephon Diggs, Josh Jacobs, and the 213. For the sake of this, do we just want to say 316, 308 kind of levels out to 213?
Yes, I would agree with that. So I like this trade because I think it's important to talk about today, because today news broke that the Browns traded for Elijah Moore. And this trade happened before that. So I'll let you, Nick, decide, do you want to do before the Elijah Moore news or after the Elijah Moore news?
Let's go before.
All right, go ahead. Take it before.
All right. Jacobs came off a great year this past year with Vegas. Nobody's doubting that. Can he keep it up? Arguably, their quarterback situation didn't really change. Garoppolo and Carr, in my opinion, are almost the same. I think they'll be relying on Jacobs just as much, so I think he'll have that high end of a year. But I want the youth and Travis Etienne in that instance. Cooper, I feel like Cooper and the Browns has been decent this past year. I think Cooper was, wide receiver 9 or 10, maybe even 6?
Well, pull it up for you right now. Look. He finished as, actually, wide receiver 10 in PPR leagues on Sleeper.
Okay. So wide receiver 10 for Diggs, who was the wide receiver 1 in PPR leagues. They're going to be bringing in somebody for Diggs. They have to. There's no option. Davis isn't it. So in this instance, I would rather have the youth and Travis Etienne and Amari Cooper.
Yeah, I agree. And so also other news that broke today, not major news, but the Jaguars did sign former Brown Dearness Johnson to be the running back. They talked about bringing in another running back. I think he doesn't affect ETN too much. So I'll take this from if this trade happened today after the Elijah Moore news. Obviously, I'm a Bills fan, right? I love Stephon Diggs. I think Amari Cooper now. Stephon Diggs is 29 with 8 years in the league. Amari Cooper's 28, has 8 years in the league. So you get a slightly younger guy, but with the same amount of wear and tear on their body. I think I like the Diggs side now. I don't think Elijah Moore affects Amari Cooper's value. He might eat up some of the targets. I don't think it's going to be a ton. Amari Cooper had 132 targets. I think he goes down to 125. He might lose 5-10 targets with Moore. I think Moore eats into DPJ and Njoku's targets more than anything. Amari Cooper finished as PPR wide receiver 10 on Sleeper. 9 touchdowns. I think he kind of gets close to that. But I think Diggs can be a top 3 wide receiver. Like, he has potential. Now, I think you have 3 years left with either of them, Cooper or Diggs. But I think down the road, next year, the trade value for Diggs at the end of his life is going to be greater than the trade value for Cooper. The running backs, obviously, I like ETN, but we've seen ETN be good, not great. We've seen Josh Jacobs be great. So I take the Diggs Jacobs side because I'll get solid production this year, and I'll be able to flip them at the end of their careers for more value, right? If Josh Jacobs comes out and has another great year, you can trade him next year for more. If Diggs and Cooper are the same, obviously Diggs is slightly better. When it comes to 2 years down the road, you're going to be able to trade Diggs for more than you can trade Cooper for. So it sets me up longer term, I think, to have better value. I think the Elijah Moore affects a little bit, and I think it's definitely going to, I think right now, if you're looking at it, Cooper's value has dropped a little bit, not a ton. But the Elijah Moore news does factor in because people are going to be like, oh, he's if you're an Elijah Moore truther, you're like, he's the number 1 and Cooper's the 2, right? Like, you're just totally crashing his value. So Cooper's value definitely has dropped since this news. So, like, this trade for me would have to be a lot more on that side for me to give up Diggs and Jacobs. So I was on the Jacobs-Diggs side before the news. I'm definitely on it after the news.
I can see that. And after the news, I agree. I want Jacobs to have another good year. I've been a fan of his, just thought he hasn't been used the right way. Diggs, he's going to keep getting fed targets with Josh Allen at the helm. So I definitely think, I think Diggs and Jacobs, for me, now that the trade's happened, I think you'll get better value out of that side.
Yeah.
So before we move on to our next one, we just got a comment from our own Bob Miller. Got it started, Dynasty Pros. Definitely give him a follow on Twitter if you're not. Superflex Dynasty, Baker, George Pickens, 102 and 111 for Lamar Jackson and Cooper Kupp. What are your thoughts on it, Dustin?
Well, I'll start off by saying I don't think Baker wins the starting job. I think he's the backup to Kyle Trask. If Baker does win the starting job, he gets 3, 4, 6 games max, depending on where their bye week falls. There's that risk with Lamar we talked about before that he just might not play this year. Like, he might not get the deal he wants and just play on that franchise tag and not actually play. He might sit out a year. I probably go with that side, the Baker, Pickens, 102, 111. I like the 102, right? You're going to get a quarterback, so younger Stroud. If Bijan goes 1, you have your pick. 111, that's what I was trying to do with the 101, get the 111 so I can take a Hendon Hooker or, a running back that falls or a wide receiver I like. I like Cooper Kupp. I worry about Stafford. I don't know if he can make it the whole season, and they have not a lot behind him, so what does he look like? Could Cooper Kupp get traded to a different team, and what's that look like? Cooper Kupp is an immensely talented guy, but he was the only guy in that offense when he had his massive year. Let's say they trade Cooper Kupp to the Giants, like, yes, he's good, but he's not the focal point. They still have Saquon, they still have some other receivers. When he was on the Rams, they had nobody. I mean, they had Robert Woods for half a year, brought in Odell did some stuff. So I go with the Baker, Pickens, and the 2 picks just because you're getting more pieces. I don't like the risk of Lamar Jackson. I don't like the potential downside for Cooper Kupp if that team just falls apart and Stafford can't play all year.
You and I are on the same side on that, and I'm going to bring in one little tidbit of information. Pickens has room to grow.
Yes.
He had 15% of the target share, but he had 100.5 passer rating when targeted. So he's just going to keep building on that connection with Kenny Pickett over there. So I think he'll hit 1,000 yards easily after a 116-yard season.
Yeah,
so
I agree. That's a good point. Pickens has the youth, and he can definitely continue to grow. Cooper Kupp, we've seen his ceiling. Like, he's not getting above that ever again. That's the max he's ever going to be, and he's probably never going to come close to reproducing that.
Agreed. Give me the youth all day, every day. Give me Pickens 102 and 111. Like you said, Baker's not really worth much because he might play 4 or 5 games, depending on where the bye week is.
But you'd also think of the upside. If Baker comes out and balls out, you have a starting quarterback with 2 really good receivers in Evans and Godwin who can ball out there. Like, we could see Baker. We've seen the peak of Lamar and Cooper. We've seen what Baker can be, but he has room to grow, and George Pickens has a ton of room to grow. So you get that upside where I don't think you get that with Lamar and Cooper.
Agreed. So now for a little bit of an interesting one. I definitely enjoy this format of play. Campus to Canton League. 12-team IDP Superflex. Our own SC Romero gets Tanner McKee, Raheem Jarrett in exchange for Jahan Dotson and Zay Flowers.
So I don't play any Devy leagues, and I think it's fun. So people who don't know, Campus to Canton is you draft basically high schoolers, is from what I know, like people that are going to be freshmen in college. Is that how that works?
So the way it works, because I'm in 2 leagues myself right now, you draft a college team and you draft an NFL league.
Okay.
So you can draft anywhere from freshmen to seniors. Right now, that's what I'm doing, even incoming freshmen. And as they progress, you bump them up to your NFL league, and you do a supplemental draft every year of incoming freshmen.
Okay.
So
you're giving up basically. So our SC Romero or Shadowcat, he gave up known commodities and a known commodity in Jahan Dotson and an unknown in Zay Flowers for an unknown in Tanner McGee and Raheem Jarrett, an unknown. So he got 2 unknowns. Now, he did say that his quarterbacks are Desmond Ridder, Will Levis, Max Duggan, Brock Purdy, and Joe Flacco and Andy Dalton. So he picks up another young quarterback that's in the draft who's didn't look great at the combine, looked okay, probably a backup. Don't think he sticks around the league long. I'm not sure I would do this. I think I want the known commodity of Jahan Dotson, who has some room to grow in that Commanders offense. I think Zay Flowers is better than Raheem Jarrett, right? I think that's where I'm going to go with that. So I think you get the known commodity, and I think you get the best unknown commodity out of the 3. So I'm on that side pretty hard on that one. So I think he lost this trade. I understand why he made it, because he wants another quarterback, but Tanner McGee is not the quarterback I want in this rookie class.
Definitely, because if you're trading for a quarterback, you're not trading for somebody like McKee. You're trading for somebody that's going to give you a chance. Looking at these quarterbacks, you got Ridder. If Levis gets drafted at 7 to the Raiders, he's sitting behind Garoppolo, at least for the first year. So you're missing out on a year. And you gave up Dotson, who, in my opinion, has a chance to be the 1A, 1B in Washington with McLaurin. I would much rather have somebody that has the greater potential in Dotson and somebody in Flowers, who is one of my favorites coming into the combine, over Jarrett and McKee. But that's my overall opinion.
Now, in my mind, if it was McKee and Flowers for Johnson and Jarrett, I think that's a little more fair, because I think you're getting the best unknown in Flowers from that side. But since, to me, it's the best commodity we know in Dotson and the best unknown in Flowers, that's what really makes it win for me.
I definitely do see that. And I get being in a super flex league, you're trying to get a quarterback. Get somebody else.
Get someone else.
Go after a low-end starter. Go after Garoppolo.
Yeah, or if you're getting like someone, I don't know, get it like a DTR, right? A Dorian Thompson Robinson or whatever his name is. Like, he projects to me as a career backup who is going to play some games, right? Go after that guy. He already has Duggan. He already has Will Levis, right? So he's got 2 other guys. Now you have 3 guys coming in the draft. that's too and they're not the big names. It's not Stroud. Like if you had Stroud, Levis, and McGee, I'd be alright. But you're talking about three guys that maybe start in 2 years,
Yep.
and I think out of those, Levis probably starts in 2 years. Duggan maybe gets a shot, and then I don't think Tanner McGee gets a shot. He'll probably play some point because people get injured and they always play, but he doesn't project as a starter for me.
So for reference on another possible trade, I did this one in my campus to Canton. The guy I traded with needed a quarterback. So I sent him Daniel Jones, and I got Chris Godwin and the 107 in the campus league.
Okay.
So this was before Tom Brady retired, naturally.
Yeah.
So I'm reeling a little bit on that one, but I don't trust Jones to have another standout year. And I got what I wanted out of it. I got another pick, which will be another quarterback for me, and a wide receiver who has a chance to be in the top 20 this year, in my opinion.
I agree. I think Godwin's still going to be good. And what I like about these Devy leagues is things can change drastically in college football. So you've seen Joe Burrow at Ohio State in this muddled group, transfers out and has this great college career. So you could draft a guy who goes to a bad situation, or someone else can draft someone at the 210 and they're in a crappy situation. You pick them up cheap and then they transfer to a great situation. So there's a lot more I find there's a lot more fluctuation in values in college players than there are in pro players. Once they come into the pros, we know who they are. We've seen it. If they don't make it in 2 years, they're out. In college, they get a plenty of opportunities to go to a different. They can enter the transfer portal, go somewhere, and be different. So I don't play in any Devy leagues or campus to camp leagues, but I like that aspect of it. It's just too many players for me to know. I don't have time to do all that reading and research.
It's definitely fun if you ever get the chance to do it. Do it. And if you're looking for an easy way to understand it, the guys over at campustocanton.com do great at explaining it. Definitely worth taking a look at if you're trying to expand into that area.
And we have Devy stuff on Dynasty Pros, so check out. We have Dynasty, we have Superflex IDPs, we have some Devy articles. So if you're looking for Devy stuff, hit us up on Twitter. Dynasty Pros on Twitter. Ask your Devy questions. We're always there to help you out. We're trying to build a robust team to cover all these areas because obviously fantasy is not just one aspect. There's all these different avenues you can play. So
definitely, we're bringing in a whole bunch of good guys that know Devy. Definitely worth reaching out to us. You got any questions, shoot us a message. One of our guys is more than happy to. Our Twitter's always open for questions.
Yep.
So now for another trade that was brought on by our own FF Bird Gang. He got Kyler Murray for the 103 and the 2024 second. I made a similar trade like this last year. So I'm going to roll with this one to start because it's similar to mine. Superflex, PPR. We know Kyler Murray's injured. Don't know what his outlook is right now, especially with a new coach in town. 103, you could potentially get Stroud if you're lucky. You might get Bryce Young, depending on how it falls.
Yeah.
I would almost rather have the picks in this opinion, just because I don't know what to get out of Kyler Murray going forward. Are you on that side, or are you on the side of Kyler?
Oh, I am hardcore on the pick side. I think he got fleeced here. Even if we knew Kyler was going to start this season, I don't think he's worth these picks. I get it, he's a known commodity at that point, but he's not a great commodity. Like, he's good, he's got some, he's a top 10-ish quarterback, right? Maybe. But now we have this whole uncertainty that we don't know if or when he's going to play this year. They're saying he could be out 10 games, 6 games. He could be out all season. We also know that Kyler has maturity issues. I don't know how you want to, he doesn't seem real invested in football. Someone said it today that he plays like there's no stakes. It's just whatever, right? And part of it is because he's never had to. He has this whole base, but he could just go off tomorrow and play baseball, right, for the A's. He could go play shortstop and wash his hands of football and be done. So he plays like he doesn't care, and it comes across. Mikel Beacham came out and said he needs to grow up and mature into the leader this team needs, and then the Cardinals re-signed him after he criticized Kyler. So there's too many red flags and risks for Kyler. I'd much rather have these picks. If you said Kyler's going to play and he's going to be a top 10 quarterback, I might take it. But that's a huge stretch for me right now of what we know and don't know about Kyler.
So when all this was coming out about his maturity issues, I made the joke that his maturity was stunted like his growth as a kid.
It's so funny because I saw someone put a graphic up because Cam Newton came out and said there's not 32 guys better than me in the league, and it was just pictures of quarterbacks, and it had had OJ, it had Bill Cosby in there, then just had just the top of Kyler's head. He's like, because he just wasn't tall enough to make the portrait. I died laughing when I saw that. I was just like, oh my goodness. The height jokes with Kyler are just great because he almost plays into it where he get it, he's short, but Drew Brees was short, but no one ever made those jokes with Drew Brees because Drew Brees carried himself in a way where it's you respected Drew Brees just because of the way he acted. No one respects Kyler because of the way he acts. It's yeah, you act like a child, so we're gonna make these jokes that you are a child. So he definitely needs to do something. We'll see what happens with the new quarterback and the new system there, and we'll see what Kyler looks like when he comes back. If he doesn't come back till mid-season, he's going to have a ton of rust on him, and he didn't have the game to have rust to begin with. So I'm really out on Kyler this year.
Same here. So what do you think? You want to do one more trade?
Yeah, let's do one more.
All right. This one, 12-team SF, half PPR, tight end premium from @YarvyFF. Yarvy got DJ Moore, Kyler Murray, and Kyle Pitts. He, in exchange, gave up Wan'Dale Robinson, Greg Dulcich, the 102 and the 104. I'm going to let you take the lead on this one because I'm sure you got an opinion with your extreme Kyler Murray opinion.
Right, so we just talked about Kyler. So getting Kyler is not what I wanted. Now we got DJ Moore. I'm assuming this was either before or right around the trade. So I'm going to assume this happened after the trade. So he got DJ Moore, knew he was going to be on the Bears, gets Kyle Pitts. To me, I get it. Kyle Pitts is this freak athlete. I don't care. I don't care that he's a freak athlete. He hasn't shown it on the field. He hasn't produced to that level. I almost prefer Dulcich over Kyle Pitts. I think you're paying up for this. You're paying the Kyle Pitts I'm a freak athlete tax, and I don't like that. Do I think Kyle Pitts is worth the 104? Most people would probably say yes. I don't see it. Do I think DJ Moore is worth the 104? No. So you gave up the 104, and I don't think anybody in this trade is worth the 104 straight up.
Right.
I like Wan'Dale Robinson. He has some health issues. I really like Greg Dulcich. So I think this trade is a landslide for the other side of Wan'Dale, Greg Dulcich, the 102, 104. You're talking about younger Stroud, right, in a super flex. And then you might get both of them. You might get Young and Stroud. Because you could theoretically go Bijan at 101, you could go Stroud at 102, 103 could be JSN, and you could get Young at 104. So you can easily replace Kyler. That's an easy swap out. You could take one of them and you can get Stroud and JSN. I'll take that. I love the pick side. If you take out one of those picks, maybe it's worth it. But for two of those picks, it's just a landslide on that side for me.
I'm inclined to agree with you. I traded for DJ Moore. Don't regret it whatsoever. I don't trust in Kyle. I don't have trust in Kyle Pitts, especially not that system. I don't. He's a freak athlete, yes. Yes, they have another tight end that's going to do the blocking now, allowing him to shift outside. I don't think either of them were worth the 104 and the 102. I want to see Wan'Dale Robinson grow in the Giants offense. And Dulcich surprised me this past season, ironically enough. So I think you gave up way too much on a lot of unknown variables.
Yeah. You gave up on the hype. You basically bought into the Kyle Pitts hype, you bought into the DJ Moore hype, and you're paying that hype tax. Freak athletes to me are great, but after 2-3 years, it's what have you done for me? What have you done? Look at Josh Gordon. Everyone wants Josh Gordon because he had that amazing breakout. He's such a great, cool man. Show me what you can do in the field. If you can't do it, I don't want you. I mean, we've seen freak athletes come into the league and just falter because their athleticism is not all of it. It's system, it's attitude, it's all those things. Not saying that Kyle Pitts doesn't have those things, but with Drake London, with Desmond Ridder, with some of the other pieces they have, I'm not sure he's going to be fed like a Kittle or a Kelsey or an Andrews. He's talented as those guys, but is he going to get used as much, and is the opportunity going to be there? So I think you bought into a lot of this hype of DJ Moore on the Bears, and DJ Moore is also going to be a top 10 wide receiver. DJ Moore's never been a top 10 wide receiver. He's always a wide receiver 20-ish. I don't see why he jumps up on a team that has Mooney, Claypool, I guess he's got a slightly better quarterback in Justin Fields than what he's had, but it's not like he's got an amazing quarterback and amazing offense. It's still a huge question mark. So too much hype, too many unknowns. I'll take the picks in the youth and let them grow on my team.
Definitely give me the picks. Give me Dulcich. I want to see him continue playing. And give me Wandale. I mean, I like Wandale coming out of the draft class.
I do too.
He could keep Kyler Murray, Pitts, and DJ Moore. Sorry, RV. Think you lost on that one. Sure, you had your reasons for it.
Yeah, and what we don't know with any of these trades is like roster construction, right? So we're just looking at them in a vacuum. So we don't know what your roster constructions were. So we may say you lost these trades, and you may come back and go, "But my team," and then that changes everything. We're going with what we know right now. And that's all we can do. So I think we're doing our best to give you our thoughts on the trade as it stands. So just because we say you lost doesn't mean you actually lost, because things change, right? Like, there's plenty of other factors that go into it. And as long as you're happy, I'll say this: if everyone says you lost the trade, but you're happy because you went out, and if you're a Pitts and Kyler and DJ Moore fan, and that's who you want, then if you're happy with it, like, go get your guys. Like, fantasy should be fun. Yes, you want to win. But if you have fun trading and you have fun getting the guys that you love and having them on your team, and that's what's fun for you, then do it. I think that's fine too. So, like, don't take a loss in a trade as the end of the world, because as long as you're having fun, I think you're doing fantasy right.
Agreed. And at the end of the day, like you said, fantasy's fun. It's supposed to be enjoyable. I'm always going to overpay for Nick Chubb. Loved him in college, love him now. I will continue overpaying for the man.
There you go.
And I have no regrets about it. So if you want Kyler Murray, pay for Kyler Murray, do what you got to do. And just, if you love it. And at the end of the day, just stay enjoying fantasy football. But look, Dustin, it was great to have you on, man.
Yeah, you too.
To everybody that's watching, head over to our YouTube channel. We're trying to build it. We're trying to grow it. Hit that like, hit that subscribe, hit the bell so it alerts you when we go live. And thanks.
Thanks for dropping your trades. Everyone that sent their trades in, we got a bunch that we didn't get to. So, be on the lookout for more of this stuff. So check our Twitter, give us a follow. And you never know what we might be asking for, and we'll talk about it train. I see Drop the Mic FF. What's up, guys? Hey, Mike, how's it going? Thanks for chopping in with us. Hope you enjoyed some of the content. But yeah, check us out. Nick, thanks for having me on. It was a blast doing these shows. So,
of course, man. And we will see all you guys at our next show. Appreciate it, everybody. Hey.